Hey Bears fans, got a lot of stuff to get into on today's show. Yes, Carson Wentz, he has been traded, but not to the Chicago Bears. We'll talk about that impact. But first, we want to do another mailbag for you guys this weekend because we didn't have our live show this week. So use hashtag Bears to get your questions in. Just type hashtag Bears in the comments, ask away, and hey, there might be new quarterback-related questions because Carson Wentz will not be a member of the Chicago Bears. So get your questions in. And on today's show, a lot of trade talk, fallout on Carson Wentz, and a whole lot more, so stay tuned. All right, let's go ahead and jump on into today's Bears rumors and a lot of trade rumors on today's show. Carson Wentz, he's not becoming a Chicago Bear. Yep, 4 smoking Jays as the Philadelphia Eagles have sent Carson Wentz to the Indianapolis Colts just earlier today, just about an hour ago now after we are filming here. He's going to the Colts, so that means the Bears will have to go in a different direction at quarterback as they have obviously expressed a lot of interest in trading for Carson Wentz. That is no longer going to be the case as he is heading to Indianapolis. Now, a lot of things to unpack with this. There's no doubt about that. Let's take a look at the trade details of this first, just to kind of see what the range of what a trade would have looked like had the Bears maybe pulled the trigger here. So here's what happened. 2021 third, a 2022 second that can become a first based on how much Carson Wentz plays and if he leads in the playoffs and those type of things for Carson Wentz. So not that big of a haul. What all of this tells me, Carson Wentz really did not want to be a Chicago Bear. I think that is pretty damn clear with this. A third and a second for Wentz, that's not a lot. That's not the Matthew Stafford trade compensation that Philadelphia wanted. I think as time went on, more and more evident that Wentz didn't want to come to Chicago, and the Eagles were like, well, we'll just send him to the Colts and get what we can for him at the end of the day. It is what it is. I'm fine with it, honestly, and I think you guys should be as well. Like this video if you're happy that Carson Wentz is not a Bear, that the Bears did not trade for him. I expect to see 1,000 likes on this video. I didn't really want Wentz. I know you guys didn't want Wentz. I guess I would have tried to get on board if they got him for cheap, but hey, I think the Bears are better off here. I think they're in a very, very decent spot moving forward, and they can shift their efforts to a different direction. So like the video if you agree with me. Like I said, I think the Bears are better off. Carson Wentz did not play well last year. I think he's mentally fragile. And do you really want a quarterback that doesn't want to be with your organization? Because that became evident. That became obvious over the past few days because it sounded like the Bears had the better offer for most of the last week or so, but he just didn't want to be in Chicago. That's the bottom line. And you know what? If he doesn't want to be in Chicago, why should the Bears want him? It's not like he's like Deshaun Watson, who's balling out every year of his career, and, you trade for him anyway, and you're like, okay, we can talk him into wanting to be here. This is a broken quarterback from last year, so I think the Bears will be fine. Obviously, they got to figure out what they want to do at quarterback now that Carson Wentz is out of the mix, but I wasn't that in on Wentz from the beginning, and clearly he wasn't in on Chicago, so I think for both sides, this is probably the better outcome at the end of the day. So, which quarterback should the Bears target next? Let's hear it from you guys. We'll make this the pinned comment on today's video. So scroll on down. You'll probably get hit with the YouTube ad break. Answer this question. Scroll back up. The video should be back up and playing. Which quarterback should the Bears target next? Go ahead and let me know. All right, next up here, how about trading for Jalen Hurts? It's not as crazy as it sounds. I'll just give it one smoking J. It's barely true. It's at least a possibility. And let me explain why. A couple of things to kind of digest from this one here. So Jalen Hurts, obviously the initial reaction would be, okay, he's going to be Philadelphia's starting quarterback. And that is the likely outcome, right? When they trade Carson Wentz, Hurts is QB1 as of now. But Les Bowen of the Philadelphia Inquirer reported prior to the Wentz trade that even if Wentz gets traded to the Colts or wherever, the Eagles could just draft a quarterback at number 6 overall and potentially make Jalen Hurts available. So this is at least something worth exploring, at least something worth talking about here on Chicago Bears Now. Here was that tweet from Les Bowen saying, spoke with NFL management source, not from the Eagles, about Wentz melodrama. His viewpoint, if Wentz doesn't want the Bears aren't going to trade for him. Obviously, this tweet was before the trade from last night. Eventually, the Eagles take whatever Indy is offering, which is what happened, maybe a second plus something, pretty similar to what happened in the Eagles draft, a quarterback 6th overall, which would open the door for potentially trading for a guy like Jalen Hurts. Now, Jalen Hurts hasn't played a ton of football in the NFL. Only completed 52% of his passes over 4 starts last year. He was productive, although inefficient. We know he's a good runner overall. This sounds crazy, but it's not as crazy as it sounds, if that makes sense. Because what if Philadelphia drafts Justin Fields number 6 overall? They're not going to start Jalen Hurts. They're going to start. They're going to start Justin Fields. So I think it's at least worth asking the question: would you trade for Jalen Hurts if he becomes available? Type Y for yes. Type N for no. I want to hear it from you guys in the comment section. I would at least explore the trade value there. Now, he's raw. He needs to improve as a passer, but it's interesting. Could you get him for like a 3rd-round pick and then build the offensive line? Maybe. I think it's at least possible, so get your votes in. Would you trade for Jalen Hurts? And I'll just go through a couple of reasons why it's not as crazy as it sounds. Number 1, Wentz has been traded to the Colts. Okay. Number 2, Eagles draft a quarterback at number 6. Number 3, maybe that means Philadelphia makes Jalen Hurts available. I know it sounds crazy, but it may not be as crazy as you guys think it is at the end of the day. So let me know, would you trade for Jalen Hurts? Y for yes or N for no. All right, how about Sam Darnold as the Bears quarterback? Would you trade, or could the Bears trade for Sam Darnold? I'm going to give this one smoking J. I think it's a little higher chance than Jalen Hurts, but not quite 2 smoking J, so I'll keep it in the 1 category for now on this one. Field Yates of ESPN.com predicted the starting quarterbacks for all 32 NFL teams and correctly predicted that Carson Wentz would get traded to the Indianapolis Colts. He has Sam Darnold as the Bears quarterback. Maybe he becomes a target for Chicago now as we move forward here. We'll just have to wait and see what happens on that front. I think it's possible. Like Hurts, I wouldn't say it's likely at this point, but you definitely cannot rule it out when it comes really to any quarterback that could be available, because we know that the Bears do need a quarterback. Now, Sam Darnold was bad last year. There's no way around it. The Jets were a problem. I am acknowledging that. I have acknowledged that several times, but Sam Darnold deserves some blame as well. He just was not very good. And over his career, he's been pretty average. He's been kind of low-end starter, high-level backup type of production throughout his career. So if you trade for Sam Darnold, I wouldn't necessarily do a bunch of jumping jacks, because it's completely unproven at this point what he could be capable of in his NFL career. So, I don't hate the idea, especially if you can get him for cheap. We'll see what the Jets end up doing, but I think any and all quarterbacks do become an option now that Carson Wentz is off the market, because it was clear that the Bears was pretty focused on that. Now that that's no longer an option, I think Sam Darnold, Jalen Hurts, I think they both become names that you should at least keep an eye on. So pick up a quarterback. If you could have either of these two guys, who you picking? Type SD for Sam Darnold, type JH for Jalen Hurts. I'd probably gamble on Darnold, because I think he's got more ability as a passer. He's got more upside as well, but that being said, neither of these guys would be a home run. So let me know, SD or JH. Now, you can get some Chicago Bears hats available for up to 30% off at chatsports.com/Bears hats. We've got a ton of different styles and variety available for you guys. You can stay warm with these beanies because it is cold as hell outside. Go to chatsports.com/Bears hats. Tons of different styles, tons of different variety. Go ahead and pick up whichever one you like. It's chatsports.com/Bears hats. All right, last one here. Is Allen Robinson going to force a trade? Obviously, this could only happen if he gets franchise tagged. I'm going to give it 2 smoking J's. People are talking. I think there's a decent possibility this could happen if the Bears tag Allen Robinson. He sat down with Tyler Dunn, did a long sit-down interview with him. You can go check out that write-up. I thought it was pretty good by Dunn there. You can just search his name on Twitter. You'll find it very, very quickly. Robinson talked about a lot of topics, about the lack of contract negotiations, about his play, about his desire to be a Hall of Fame wide receiver, whether or not he still wants to be in Chicago, says he's still open to it. What he also did is not close the door on demanding a trade if he does get tagged, Said simply, it's definitely an option. So, not great when it comes to Allen Robinson. If the Bears tag him, expect a potential holdout, expect him to potentially demand a trade as well. And this just further clarifies that Ryan Pace doesn't have a clue. He's clearly undervaluing Allen Robinson. He's too busy paying Robert Quinn $70 million. He's too busy trying to focus on getting Carson Wentz, who's been a mess for the last year and a half, than locking up your number one wide receiver. It's a mess. It's frustrating. I don't like it, but it's just the reality of the situation as we sit right now. So answer this question for me, or don't even answer this question. Just spam the chat for me. Type F if you think Ryan Pace should be fired or should have been fired after last offseason. Go ahead and spam F in the comment section. I was clear. I wanted Pace gone. I was kind of 50-50 on Matt Nagy, but Pace should have let the door hit him on the way back out, because he has made so many mistakes throughout his tenure as the GM. More on Allen Robinson in a minute, but subscribe to the channel. It's youtube.com/BearsNow. More trade rumors over the next few weeks around quarterbacks. We'll see what happens now that Carson Wentz has been snatched up by the Colts, but we're going to continue to plug out videos for you guys here on this channel. So go ahead and subscribe today. Daily videos around the Chicago Bears. Now, as far as Robinson goes, he talked about just value too, what he thinks he's worth. These are the top 5 guys. And I've been saying it for a while. Amari Cooper is probably the starting point, because I think they're similar receivers in terms of production, him and Cooper. And that's $20 million per year. And Robinson, based on what he said in this piece with Dunn, said that he was offered below market value. Here's the quote on that. He said, it would be like if I told somebody, you are qualified for this job, and this is what other people make at that job are making, but you can't make that. Nobody in America would even do that. And he's absolutely right. Why would he, who, by the way, out of those 5 wide receivers, only 2 of those have had more yards than Robinson over the past 2 seasons, and it's not like Allen Robinson has been playing with elite quarterbacks in Chicago. Why would he take $17, $18 million per year when he's outproduced guys who are making 19 or 20? Or he's at least had similar production to those guys. And all of those guys I showed on screen have played with good quarterbacks. Hopkins, Watkins, and Kyler Murray. Julio Jones, Matt Ryan. Keenan Allen, Phillip Rivers, and Justin Herbert. Michael Thomas, Drew Brees. I don't even remember Amari Cooper, Dak Prescott for the most part. Like, those are all clearly better quarterback situations than Allen Robinson, and yet he's continued to produce at a very, very high level. Don't believe me? He has been awesome the last 2 years. 2,300 yards in 2 seasons for the last 2 years. I mean, I don't know what else you want. I don't get it for Ryan Pace. Maybe he's, waiting to figure out quarterback first, which I guess that's fair, but I would also say he should have had Robinson signed to an extension a year ago, and he didn't get the job done. Predict it for me. Will Allen Robinson be a Chicago Bear in 2021? Will he be back next year? Type 1 for yes, type 2 for no. I think he's going to get tagged, and maybe that leads to a tag and trade, so that would be a no. But who knows? I think it's 50-50 at this point. Get your votes in, and we'll see you next time.